Today, we are discovering what secrets The Amazing Race did not tell us in the edited television show. We will be looking at some secrets that are game related, some that are personal thoughts, and some that are just plain silly. And we will even hear from the creators of the show themselves about how the show started and why they used to think that strangers could never be teams on the race. Funny now in retrospect. Basically, as long as it isn't part of the show aired on television, it is fair game to be considered a secret. And heads up, we are covering everything from seasons 1 to 32. No season is safe. So with that, I want to thank you for watching what I make and ultimately supporting what I do here with liking, commenting, and sharing. For only a few bucks a month on Patreon, you can pick what videos I make, watch all of this channel's content early, chat with other fans of the show, and even get exclusive videos every month. Thank you for your support. So with that, let's count all 40 of them in absolutely no particular order. Number 1. I love The Amazing Race, and that may be shocking news to you as you watch this video or watch many of the other videos I've made about the show. And I am the kind of person who loves finding out how and why things I like are made, what goes into making it, how long did it take to get off the ground, how much did it cost, stuff like that. Well, in this interview with the creators of the show, they tell us where the idea even came from for the show.
You guys in television, there's nothing good on TV. I said, when are you going to put something good on TV that I would be interested in watching? And he said, no, you think you're so smart. You think it's so easy. Why don't you come up with something? I'll give you 5 minutes. The first thing that came to my mind was when I went backpacking through Europe with my best friend. So I said to Bertram, wouldn't it be great if we could have two people who know each other do some sort of a trip around the world, like an adventure, like a race where they'd be competing against other people doing the same thing. And, they could go from country to country doing things in those countries, like things that the locals do.
Number 2. As of the time of this video, there have been 2 seasons where the teams did not know each other. For the first 25 seasons, teams only consisted of people with pre-existing relationships, whether it was brand new couples or lifelong friends. And despite the weirdness of season 26 and the greatness of season 29, the creators did not think that strangers being teammates would ever work.
The fact that they have to know each other really well is key to the storytelling, because people always say, oh, why don't you take 2 total strangers? No, strangers, that takes me 4 episodes before they start to get to know each other. So we have people that immediately get into each other's face, because if you get in a car with somebody that you love, the first turn is one wants to go left, the other one wants to go to the right, and that's just fact. And that's kind of, it plays on that.
Number 3. This one is quite simple. The name of the show is so simple that it's kind of brilliant. So how did they choose to name this show The Amazing Race?
The title was, we came up with, I don't know how many titles.
It was like,
a lot.
Around the World in 80 days. Like, we didn't know how long it was going to take either. So we were, we had many titles, but ultimately CBS, maybe their marketing, I'm not sure exactly which person came up with the final title, but we loved it, and it is an amazing race. It's an amazing. Everything is amazing about it.
I actually thought Les Moonves had quite a bit to do with the title, I think, from what I remember.
Number 4. Kind of like in Survivor, the crew for The Amazing Race has fluctuated over the years. But one thing is for sure is that they have grown significantly since season 1. How much though?
I think one of the biggest challenges is that we had a small staff. So to be spread so far out around the world and not realizing maybe the speed at which everything was going to go, we probably were a little shorthanded on people at locations. So we have a much bigger staff now, a group of people that travel around. We might have traveled around with 30 people then. We travel around now with 70, like a core group that goes from location to location.
Number 5. Despite what you, and frankly I, think about season 32 and the problems it had, I think we can agree that Leo and Alana were not one of them. Now, you may recall that on The Race, which was filmed in late 2018, they were only newly dating, but now?
Yeah, we got married actually in our backyard, like a COVID-safe wedding, Labor Day weekend. So we're representing Somerville. I
mean, it's been 2 years since the race, so we got engaged a couple months after the race, and then and then planned and then replaned our wedding for COVID, but we loved having it in Somerville in our yard.
Pretty crazy that they beat James and Will, who got engaged on the race, which means they got engaged in 2018 and then got married only a year and a half later, whereas James and Will still aren't married almost 3 years later. Number 6. The Amazing Race 5 is commonly viewed as one of the best seasons of the old school era, if not the best of all time. Colin and Christy were crazy good at the race and also just a bit of actual crazy as well. Now, we saw their redemption arc in season 31, but way back when season 5 finished airing, here's what Colin had to say about the edit he was given.
There was a lot of volatility watching you complete.
Well, actually, I'll make one quick comment here.
Yeah.
Chrissy and I we get a pretty rotten edit. I'm like this raging lunatic psycho, and Chrissy's this submissive girlfriend that just puts up with it, which actually couldn't be farther from the truth.
Number 7. If you have watched any of my Survivor Secrets videos, then you know that I love showing the winner getting their checks live on TV since it isn't part of the show. Well, back in the day, The Amazing Race did the same thing as well, so here's Chip and Kim getting rich.
You are the winners, the official winners of The Amazing Race. This is an official check for $1 million. Congratulations.
And what are you going to do with the money?
Well, first off, we're going to tithe to our church, Jubilee South Coast.
Number one priority.
Number 8. The Amazing Race 7 had a wonderful cast of characters such as Rob and Amber, Uchenna and Joyce, and Meredith and Gretchen. But what about Ray and Deanna? As you may recall, they were dating on and off during that season, but as it turns out, they got married not too long after in 2005.
Where are you with your relationship? What's happening?
Right now in our relationship, Ray proposed after Christmas. Yes,
oh my gosh, you're getting
married in May.
But don't get too excited there, as they then got divorced in 2010. So I guess you could say they're married on and off. Okay, that was just a bad joke. Let's move on. Number 9. We all know and love Phil Keoghan as the host of The Amazing Race. He is nice, charming, friendly, and has an incredible accent and gives a mean eyebrow raise. But who knew that he began his hosting career way back when he was only a teenager?
You're spot on. I'm Phil Keoghan.
And I'm Emma Cunliffe. And this is Ollie.
And he's got a few things to say about fish.
Good one, Phil. And some fish tales.
Number 10. I may be a Survivor super fan and probably know way too much about that show, but I would say I'm a hardcore casual fan of The Amazing Race. I remember some things off the top of my head, but I could never rattle off every winner, or past challenges, or even how many miles a season went around the world, like some people can. Well, Brooke and Scott from season 29 are super fans, and they would talk incessantly about everything they knew while racing.
But Scott and I bonded over the fact that we would talk about throwbacks and switchbacks, and when we were on our way to the Corinth Canal in Greece, we both knew where we were going, but we tried to not talk about it too much because it was a bungee jump. But we had a very mutual respect and a mutual understanding of everything that was happening.
Number 11. Everything on The Amazing Race seems so fast and frenetic that we don't see the little production behind the scenes things that affect how long things actually take. But do these production things affect the order racers finish? Does it slow them down at all? Here's Brooke and Scott to elaborate just a little bit on that.
So I guess what I would say about the race is there's a lot of production stuff that goes on that it doesn't impact your order on the race. It's just things you have to be conscious of. Like, for example, every time you stop for directions, you have to get clearance from who you just spoke to. Things of that nature that you have to get used to.
Number 12. Want a good tip to get great information about other countries if you do end up on The Amazing Race? Or if you just plan on traveling internationally? Brooke and Scott have the answer, which when they say it seems so obvious, but I definitely didn't consider it before.
I think one of the most valuable things that we did, and a lot of teams I don't think did this, I would go to talk to every flight attendant on every flight because they'll know, we'd have a clue of sort of an idea of where we're going. They are fantastic about knowing where you're headed, how to get there, little tips and strategies, and the flight attendants will always speak English. So that was always, I give that as a tip to future racers. Take advantage of the flight attendants on your flights. They are a wealth of knowledge.
Number 13, Charla and Myrna. Who can forget both of their times on The Amazing Race? I know I can't. Whether that's good or bad is up to you. But we only see the edited TV versions of them, whereas Uchenna and Joyce actually got to spend time with them, and here's how they describe their time with Charla and Myrna.
I love Charla. Myrna's a little irritating, but,
I'll just say it. Go ahead, you fingers on a chalkboard. nails on a chalkboard.
The cousins, both of them.
Well, it's just there's controversy all the time, which I guess people like that, but you can't trust them.
Well, it's just Myrna yelling at Charlotte all the time. It's like, be quiet. She's doing the best she can.
Number 14. As you may or may not already know, Uchenna and Joyce never had kids. Very unfortunate. They didn't even try adopting from what we know, which really kind of sours the end of The Amazing Race 7. Even though they did try the in vitro fertilization, don't kill me if I'm saying the wrong thing here, but they did try that after the race like they said they would. But it goes further than that, as they are now divorced, and you kind of get a sense from more recent interviews with them when they're still married that things weren't as great at home as they were on the race.
People always have been asking us what's been going on with the relationship, how it's been. What the race really did for us is give us a glimpse on what our relationship can be. And we've been convinced to share with everyone what's going on with the baby, what's going on with our relationship as well.
Baby in the future? Final seconds?
Yeah, we're trying to.
UchennaandJoyce.com.
All right.
Number 15. I always wondered when watching a show like Survivor or The Amazing Race who actually watched this show before coming on to it. And then I tried to guess who were the fans and who was basically recruited. Well, in this special featurette for season 7, we find out one team had never even seen the show before playing on it.
I'm a huge fan of Amazing Race. I watched every single show, every single episode.
Well, I had never seen the show personally before we auditioned.
Yeah, and I thought it'd be a really good get-rich-quick scheme. And so I just told Lynn, let's just send it a tape.
Number 16. Many have wondered why Rob and Amber did The Amazing Race right after winning Survivor. Was it for the money? I mean, obviously. But here's what they say their motivation was.
Amber and I are both adventure seekers, and we wanted another adventure after being through Survivor. I think the $1 million is what we were going after. But the whole reason why we decided to do the race in the first place is you can't vote us off. If you can beat us, beat us.
Number 17. Now, what does Phil think about inserting Survivor veterans into a cast of all newbie Amazing Race players? After all, this is the first time they ever did this.
The fact of the matter is that having Rob and Amber on The Amazing Race was the best thing for Race 7. It got people stirred up. Some people love them, some people love to hate them. They had a huge number of followers that came to watch the show. So however you want to look at it, they brought a lot of attention to the show.
Number 18. Oh man, I love crazy behind the scenes stories, and here is a juicy one about season 4. Even if you haven't seen season 4, you'll find this one interesting. I know I did. As the cast actually got a flight to the next location and the crews did not, and it caused mayhem.
We had an instance in Europe where I think we were in Austria and we had to go to Italy. The contestants' flights were all good, but the production crew, our flight got canceled.
It was a really interesting situation because the plane, we were all on this plane from an airline that is extremely unreliable. But we all sat on this plane, ready to go. And they had some communication issue with the Italians. The Italians, they wouldn't release that plane. And I said, guys, let's get off the plane. Everybody said, no, let's wait. I said, get off this plane. This is not happening. It's instinct, It's not happening. Take the train. No, we can't take the train. We are going to take the train. Everybody off the plane, and then indeed the plane never took off. It never left.
We wound up taking a 9-hour train ride from Austria to Italy while the contestants were flying. So literally they were getting ahead of us as we were catching up to them.
Number 19. Now this varies season to season, I am sure, but have you ever wondered what it takes to scout every location for a season? That has to be a fun job since it is on someone else's dime and you aren't racing around doing challenges. Here is the scoop on this.
4 months.
It takes us 4 months to go to all the places and go there and do it. So
the casting starts the earliest. Casting starts 4 months out, and about the same time that the casting starts, we start looking at the map and thinking about the route that we would like to do. And then we have to clear all the locations through our safety and security team, through CBS, to make sure that they're feeling that everything that we want to do, where we want to go, is safe.
Number 20. There are some countries I want to see The Amazing Race go to for the first time, or heck, even revisit. Truly, them visiting every country before the show is completely done would be ideal. However, there are some places they just cannot go, and they do have a budget after all.
There's a lot of places you cannot go to. West Africa is almost not possible. East Africa is very difficult. Certain parts in the Stans, Uzbekistan, all those countries, a little tricky. So what is left over is really most of South America, except for Colombia, South America, and then certain parts of Africa. Europe, you can go anywhere. Northern Europe, Russia, fantastic place, and then Asia. There's a lot of great places.
Really, we put a map out in front of us and say, where have we been recently? Where do we still want to go? And what places would be great, new, and promotable?
And what can we afford?
And many times, if we're going to go to places that we know are more expensive, we'll pick a few that we know would be less expensive to produce. So just a variety of places.
And they can never figure out where they're going because we also put visas in their passport. That throws them off. So otherwise, they could kind of predict where we go.
Number 21. Chris and Brett from season 31 were not even originally planned to be on that season. Some of you might even know that Rob Sesternino and Stephen Fishbach were actually asked to be a team, and they had to say no due to Stephen's wedding, which sucks that they weren't on the race, but great for the wedding. But here is how Chris and Brett got on.
We both got called. I was at a baseball game in maybe April. And, they called and said, hey, are you interested in doing this with Brett? And of course, we were like, yeah, of course. But it wasn't maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 days later, they called and said, hey, look, sorry, it's probably not going to happen. So we were kind of really bummed for a month or something, or 2 months. And then we all of a sudden, Lynn Spillman called us and said, things are happening, y'all might get on. And all of a sudden Friday, it was a Friday night at 11:30 at Oklahoma time. She called and Brett and I answered and she said, you're on. And we were like, oh, when do we leave? In a month? And she was like, no, Tuesday.
Number 22. That opening episode of 31 is so funny. These survivors are hot messes, especially Rupert. But seeing Brett climb that silly inflatable Mount Fuji only to miss the very obvious clue had me shaking my head so hard. As it turns out, he was up there a lot longer than you think.
Brett LaBelle sat at the top of Mount Fuji for probably 10 or 15 minutes screaming, you told me to climb up here and I'm up here. What do I do now?
Looking fantastic, I might add.
Yeah, with a clue 3 inches from him, maybe a foot if I'm giving him some credit.
Number 23. Have you ever wondered if any of the race teams just grab a beer while they're on a leg? Why not, after all? They got some time to kill when waiting on flights. Well, as it turns out, Brett on season 31 was thinking the same thing.
Well, he wouldn't let me buy beers either. I figured the money we were saving on not buying beers, we could buy a couple pairs of pants, or we could maybe barter.
Yeah, he wanted a beer at every airport, and I go, Brett, we don't have any money. We can't buy beer.
We could have shared a beer. One beer.
Yeah, nobody's ever done that before. History.
Number 24. Way back in season 1. Things got real and things got raw. Nowadays, I feel like we rush through locations so quickly that there isn't any time to take it in, but I must be a dummy because it's called The Amazing Race, not The Amazing Leisurely Stroll. However, we tend to forget that these locations have real people living real lives and they're not just there for tasks. And that can't be more evident than when a local strike had teams struggling to get any tickets in season 1.
Wasn't there a strike, you guys? Is that why no one could get a flight?
Something, yeah. I remember there being, both times we actually were in that stupid Milan airport
3 times. Almost as many times as Lenny went up to the Eiffel Tower.
That's when you told him. That's when I told him I was going to break his legs.
Yeah.
I was just bluffing.
Number 25. This next one is not really a secret, but when I heard it, I busted out laughing. So a really good burn counts as a secret in this case.
Don't cry, Emily, don't cry.
The more it fires me up. I mean, the way I was raised, somebody treats a woman like that, they get their ass kicked.
Or they wear a visor.
Number 26. Racers who are on the more modern seasons by now know that typically a season has 3 non-elimination legs. Though when these legs will happen, the racers never know, only production does. So they should never assume that one is coming up. Brooke and Scott, however, did assume, and
what's funny, here's the behind the scenes story that might be interesting, is when everyone left, and it was just the 2 of us, they kept putting the camera in my face trying to get a reaction, and I was like, oh, I'm fine. And they went, why are you okay? I go, because I'm a super fan, and this is 4, and so it's a non-elimination leg. And they were like, well, how do you know? and I go, well, this is 4 episodes in, and you haven't had one yet? You have 3. One's bound to come up. And so I'm talking to Elise, the executive producer, just going, you're not bothering me. And she's trying to push me for an emotion. And then we finally get to the mat, and right when we're done with the mat chat, Phil goes, oh, it's an elimination leg. And Elise just walks past me with this look in her eye. And I thought it was so funny. I was like, oh gosh, never be sure of yourself. My goodness.
Number 27. If this has ever been explained in the show, then I apologize, but finding out this next bit of information is news to me. Apparently, if you have an express pass and you have a fast forward, you cannot combine the two of them. I'm not sure why you would, because a fast forward pretty much guarantees you're not going home, but a team did attempt it before and they were told, no, you can't do that.
So that you just speculated that Floyd had that express pass?
I just asked a lot of people, and when I asked Floyd, he sort of like smirked a little bit, and I was like, you are not a liar.
Yeah, it can be frustrating because a rule a lot of fans don't know is you can't use the express pass on a fast forward. So when they took the fast forward, they thought they were going to use the express pass and just do no tasks whatsoever. And so that's why they kept it and didn't give it to anybody.
Number 28. When that truck flipped in season 7, that was scary stuff. It literally injured a crew member, but Greg and Brian ended up being okay, which is good for the season. However, here's what we did not see about this on the show.
What we didn't see is our tour guide that was with us had actually got out, was holding the cameraman. We had made a shade tent.
We had called for backup. We had,
because there's nobody out there. You don't see that. It's not like there's all these, camera stations all over the desert or anything like that.
And we knew the brothers weren't hurt, but they were freaked
And the thing that was
Number 29. Phil is a nice guy. I mean, who could argue that? He doesn't want to eliminate teams or deliver bad news, but it comes with the territory of being host on the show. So, what is the meanest thing Phil has ever done on the race?
The meanest thing I've ever done on television is to take away all the money from a team, Meredith and Gretchen, take all their money, all their possessions, while she's standing there bleeding in front of me. I remember the greeter in South Africa says to me, "You're so mean." It's like, no, I'm sorry, I meant to do that. She went, "But you're so mean. That woman was bleeding and you took all her money and now she has no possessions."
Number 30. Okay, no joke. For like the millionth time, we're going to have the plane debacle from the finale of season 7 addressed. Only this time, it's addressed by Phil himself. Here's what he has to say.
That finish with the plane. A lot of people felt like there was some kind of conspiracy going on. It's like, please. I mean, what a lot of people don't know is that it is ultimately up to the pilot in command. He's in charge of whether the plane stays or whether it goes. It was at his discretion as to whether he pulled back up, and he made that choice. The idea that we would go to an airline and risk people finding out that we went there to ask them to pull the plane back up so we could get them on the plane is absolutely ludicrous. It's crazy.
I know that's what he says, but I'm still not buying it.
The thing that bothered me and concerned me is not once during the entire airing of the show did you see Uchenna and Joyce lobby to get on the plane.
Number 31. Have you ever wanted to plan a leg of The Amazing Race? Yeah, me too. Let's go scout it out and find out what we want the teams to do. But have you ever wanted to do it at the last second? Yeah, me neither. Well, there was a massive typhoon in Laos and it totally jacked up season 14 to the point that they had to make another leg in Thailand at the very last minute. Why and how? Well,
we were supposed to go to Laos a few seasons ago and they had a monsoon come through. Literally, we were filming. It was about a show and a half coming up. And we literally had to put a show together in the country we were going to. We added another show. I'm always with the team usually when we're filming, but because of this, I jumped ahead because we knew we couldn't go to Laos. And I think we were in Thailand.
Thailand, yeah.
And I started scouting some of the places that he had looked at. And so by the time he landed, he started scouting, I was scouting. We met at the end of the day. The teams were coming in the next morning. We put the show together and they did everything the next day as if.
Number 32. Is there a location that the show is wanted to go to but simply cannot due to a logistical, budgetary, or political reason? Yes, in fact, and it is one I think we would all love to see. So here is where and why.
There is a place that I really wanted to go to that we attempted to for about 2 years and it just didn't work out, but it's Antarctica. That is, another place that we would love to take the show, but unfortunately, January, there's like 1 month out of the year that you have to do this trip.
And what the problem is, you can get stuck there because you fly on a beautiful clear day And 2 hours later, there's the storm of the century is taking place. So it's very weather dependent. It's very, very difficult to fly in and out. And it has to be with military aircraft out of Argentina. And the people are very willing and wanting to do this.
Yeah, they really
But it's
wanted
just, you
us
can
to
get
come.
stuck there for days and days and days with 100 people.
Number 33. Did you know The Amazing Race didn't want Phil as their host? It's a bit shocking to think about considering how much of a staple of the show he really is. More specifically though, they didn't want a host with a foreign accent, and well, Phil is just that. So why did they pick him anyways?
Initially I resisted a little bit because I needed somebody with more experience, and I was not sure in those days somebody with at that point a pretty heavy accent, would be, listen to my accent, but would be acceptable to a network or something like that. So I was a little reluctant, so I resisted it a little bit. But then when I looked at the tape, I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. The guy's perfect. That's a guy. It doesn't matter if people have travel experience or not. It doesn't matter. But he is good. He's the guy. I think we should present them to the network, and that's how it came about.
Number 34. I love James and James from season 21. Now that isn't the secret, I just wanted to say it since it ties into our next secret about how after their season and even during their season, people would go to Chippendales just to see them and bring signs along as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's cool. It's fun to be back at work. It's different now though, like because of Amazing Race.
We've become kind of the focal point.
Get like people coming like to see us. It's kind of cool. Like,
that's awesome.
Someone had like signs the other night at the show.
Bedazzled with glitter on.
Go James and James, and I was like, that's sign for us. It's so cool.
Number 35. I share with you dumb moments because they are fun despite not being a secret. It's just my cross to bear. This one is the polar opposite though. This host tries to basically say respectfully, why do you suck so much? But she isn't Jeff Probst or Phil Kogan, so she can't really pull it off, and it definitely comes across as mean.
Brooke, you know I love you here, but for a lot of this race, you had a little bit of a I can't do it attitude. Do you feel like you pulled your own weight throughout the whole season?
I mean, I'd like to think so. I did half the tasks.
Number 36. The silent rave in season 31 was so cool. I'm not sure if it would be a success here in the States if there is one, and if there is one, I don't know about it. But as it turns out, this silent rave apparently did not know what the racers were going to look like when they arrived, because they actually just denied entry to the teams because they were waiting on The Amazing Race.
Brett, what about when we first get to the club, we walk up there, we're all like sweaty.
The guy goes, yeah, you can't come in. I go, wait a minute, maybe we're in the wrong place. So I read the clue again. I look up, I go, no, this is it. So I go up, I go, yeah, no, we got to come in. He goes, yeah, no, you guys aren't dressed for it. And I go, well, get the manager, and because the camera guy's like, yeah, we got to go. We're going in here. This is it, So the guy wouldn't let us in. It was a riot.
Number 37. Have you ever compared The Amazing Race to raising children? No, me neither. I've never literally once thought of comparing this to, but I'm not Jet and Cord, who do make this comparison, and it kind of makes sense, and here's why.
I finally told somebody at home, I said, it's kind of like having kids. There's no way for me to explain to you what it's like having kids until you've had them.
Right.
And that's the way with the race.
Number 38. Earlier, we saw Chip and Kim get their fat check for $1 million after season 5 when the show was still hot. But here we are, season 16, seeing these winners get their check, and it isn't as glamorous, but hey, $1 million's $1 million.
Let me tell you, for all our...
No, excuse me.
Oh,
this is how you do it on TV. This way, right? So there you go, guys. That's the real deal.
Number 39. Team Guido, purposefully evil and hated by pretty much every team on season 1, would play as dirty as the show would let them. This made them great TV, of course, but here we actually see them cheating once and getting away with it scot-free. What?
Well, of course, now Team Guido has found a shortcut, so they're trying to go in between and off the beaten path.
Didn't you guys have to follow a certain path?
Yeah, we were supposed to follow
the
path, but of course, they maneuvered their way around.
Number 40. If you are from America and you go to a poorer financial country, prepare to be stared at and possibly begged to give them money. I have experienced this firsthand, and it definitely gives new perspective on how to treat foreigners when I meet them where I live. But on the other hand, sometimes people in those other countries will abuse power, see that you probably have money, and scam you, like in season 1.
Why did they get stopped?
Because they had to pay
road tax.
Road tax, yeah.
Shakedown. Which is just a shakedown, is all it is. And you knew they were ripping you off, and you're still paid, but you had to. What are you going to do?
What was I supposed to do?
No, you can't do anything.
So which secret blew your mind the most? Comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching, and if you like the content you see here, then please consider supporting me on this channel on Patreon. Your financial support makes this channel possible, so thank you, and thank you for watching.